back, San Diego. Here we are, and I'm going to guess correctly this time, Corbin. We are on episode 5 under contract, and I'm so thrilled that we have the opportunity to have this space where I can collaborate with like-minded individuals in different arenas of life, whether it's in the real estate sense, the health and wellness sense, the professional, personal, whatever it might be. I really have an opportunity to serve my associates, serve my guests, and just serve, period. So today, I'm super excited because I have a gentleman on, and I'm going to let him introduce himself because he has no introduction that could possibly be worthy in my words that I can say. But he is an entrepreneur. He is a local businessman. He's heavily invested in real estate. He is into spiritual endeavors in terms of his faith. He's a believer. He is also into health and wellness. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The introduction is lame in my opinion, but welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation and to really serve your guests.
So pronounce your last name for me because I mispronounced it earlier when I was talking to Corbin.
Hack, H-A-C-K.
As in hacking?
Yeah,
like
as in hacking. I mean, one of the businesses I'm involved in is technology, so I got the jokes there. I grew up playing basketball, so I got the jokes there. Yep. So.
And you prefer to go by Daniel or?
Daniel.
Okay, Daniel. Daniel Hack, you guys. Okay, so Daniel, welcome. Every week that I get to do this, I have to kind of educate myself a little bit about my guests. And there's so many touching points that I want to speak about with you. But first and foremost, I'm going to go right to it. Like I'm going to dive right into it. Tell us about the 5 Fs.
5 Fs, great question. So I think what's really important to look at, we all desire to live in a place of joy, which I actually used to say I want to be happy, but I believe joy is eternal, and that's not based off of things or happiness. The root word is happening, so that means it's external. So what I found is that I wanted to have something to be able to gauge my life, to be able to say, hey, where do I need to be stronger in to be able to live that full purpose, that full potential, and be in a place of joy. And so what we came up with was 5 different Fs. So it's in order: faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun. So
in that order. So one obviously has something to do with the other in terms of the pillar.
Yes. And fun is more like a through line for all of them, but I think it's such an important dynamic. And even for me, as somebody who can be like hard charging go, that I need to make sure I'm looking at those. So for me, everything starts with my faith and my relationship with God. To me, it makes sense. Like we have a creator and we are designed to be in a relationship with our creator. So everything flows out of that. Whether it be my relationship with myself or other people. If I don't receive love of God, our Father, then how am I supposed to love myself or other people or have that flow through me? And then one of my friends, Ryan Kennedy, talks about he unfortunately lost his mom to cancer. And he always brings up this question: if you weren't healthy, like what else in life really matters? So like if you don't have your health, that's why I believe that fitness is really important. So within fitness, there's health and everything there. Faith, family, sorry. Family is before that because if you don't, if I didn't have my mom, it doesn't matter if I'm healthy. I wouldn't really be in a place of joy, which I understand that this is a world where people come and go, but family is so important. And within family, I think of that as community too. I think we all have family. There are people who are somebody said like chosen family, right? Yeah. Our friends are our people that are chosen family. And then fitness is next. Finances, we want to be able to steward our finances well. And yes. And I think we were created to be in abundance so that we can continue to give back, but also we're created to create. And so what finances is a determinant of how much value you've provided. And so there's nothing wrong with having a financial freedom or having significant finances, because that means you've created significant impact and significant value. And then let's have fun through it all.
I love that. So if I didn't know any better, this is a book waiting to happen. Come on, you can spill the beans right now. Because if you're not writing it, I'm going to write it and I'll give you credit.
There we go. Hey, collaboration.
Right,
I love it. I actually hadn't thought about that, but it is the name of a team that I help to lead. Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but I'm going to guess that you are relatively younger. And I say that because this is my birthday month. I'm going to do a shameless plug right now. I'll be 58 in 24 days. And anybody younger than that is younger, period,
Yes.
right? So how did you become so evolved? What life experiences led you to this space, other than the fact that, you're a believer and God is, that is a non-negotiable period in business, in personal, everything. What led you, what experience was the catalyst that led you to believe and really rely on your faith to get through something to get you to where you are today, where this is who you are? What was there, one thing? Was there collective things? What transpired?
Great question. So first off, I've got to honor my parents. So I did grow up with great parents with their ups and downs in life. I truly do say that my mom is an angel. I learned a lot from my dad. He had his struggles. But I would say it started with really what has become a mantra for my life. My dad used to say that we don't have control over everything that happens, but we do have control over how we respond to it. So instead of having a great day, we would say, make it a great day in my family. So that very much made it a mantra in our family. So what that did is that taught me the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is letting the day come to you. Responding is saying, hey, I'm going to choose. I don't have control over everything that happens, but I do have control over how I respond to it. So it started with that. And then, there's a number of analogies out there. Pressure makes diamonds. To be able to make a rock smooth, you need rough sandpaper.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a diamond in the rough, but better. Okay,
exactly.
yeah.
I heard that one. Shout out to Emerge.
Yeah.
That was a speaker there, just talked about that one.
Yeah.
And so there are a couple different life events that really shaped, or I guess what I would say caused me to mature faster. And so first is my finals week in college was a little bit tough for me, not for your normal college reasons, but I actually got two of the worst news. So freshman year, I found out that my parents got divorced. So I had to navigate all of the different hurt and dynamics that comes with parents being divorced, younger sister still in the house, older brother, some of the different things there, a new woman in my dad's life. So all of these different things that I navigated. So I was forced to mature and look at things a little bit differently going through that. And then unfortunately, my junior year, my dad had struggled with depression. So he'd had it when I was in 5th grade, when I was in high school, and then also my junior year of college. And I got a call. I'd actually ignored 2 of my mom's calls, and then my sister's best friend calls and says, hey, Danny, so anyone who knows me through my family calls me Danny. You really need to call your mom back. And so I called her, and that's when I found my mom told me that my dad had died, that he'd actually taken his life, written us a note. So that was when everything really changed. I think we as men, or I guess I'll speak for myself, or just people, can push things down, which is what I did for a while. I did what's called the rescuer. So I worried about my brother, my sister, kind of stayed surface level, rather than truly feeling all of the emotions. One of my friends says, pain demands to be felt. And I didn't do that, but I did really, I would say, mature a little bit faster, start to ask questions and different things. So those were 2 of the events there that really made an impact there in my life.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to hear that, but just listening to you speak about it and kind of sensing your demeanor, God truly has been with you throughout everything. Yeah. Truly, his presence has been there, and it is something you just can't dispute, period. So you experienced that. Fast forward, you graduate from college, you graduate into becoming an adult, as we say, and you're adulting. What transpires to lead you further on down this path along becoming who you are today? You became a business owner at some point. You got invested. You became an investor. You became, this spiritual wellness health guy. And all of these things presented themselves, I'm sure, because we can all relate to this is in terms of the mental health aspect. Anytime we experience trauma, because I've gone through an aunt committing suicide, I've gone through my own personal journey in trauma, we tend to suppress it and we act out. And I know my acting out was in the form of an eating disorder. So that's how I could control what I was going through that was uncontrollable, but I could control it over here. What would you share with us a little bit about what behaviors or life patterns did you see yourself falling into to deal with that?
Great question. So once I found that, I mean, I was in college, so it was very normalized just to be partying, drinking, drugs, all of those things.
We've all been there.
I call it like downtown Daniel days.
I was downtown Tammy, so there you go.
Hey, I'm sure we would have been friends.
And I was downtown Los Angeles and Orange County, Tammy. I mean, just go.
There we go. Different stages of our life. So I really turned to that. Like I was like, okay, I've always had charisma and been able connect with people in that way. So what I did is I just kind of turned to friends and surface level, which I was always, I believe, to be a good person. I think I could have been a better person, but I really turned to partying, and drinking. I moved, once I graduated from college, I actually decided to graduate early, moved down to San Diego, treated it like college for a number of years. And so I really turned to that and really autopilot. Like even a friend said once when I was living downtown, he asked me, why do you listen? Or he goes, why do you take such short showers? And it's because that's the only time that I could be alone in my thoughts. So I didn't.
Wow.
So that's why a lot of people talk about you have ideas when you're in the shower, because it's it's a forced margin.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I filled in all the margin with stuff and things. So when I first came down, I had
trappings.
Yes, 100%. When I first came down, I had an internship, was doing business there, and for a while I actually thought I was successful in sports from a leadership standpoint, 6'2.5" playing basketball with not much of a vertical, never took it too far. But pinnacle of the career.
You did it.
Intramural champions in basketball and dodgeball, but who's counting?
Oh my gosh, we're going way back.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, so in business, I actually, for a little while, it was a struggle because I had seen some identity in being successful in school and in those things. And I was in the wrong place. I was doing tech company, but it was more, in sale. My gifting is communication, sales, business development, high level strategy. And
Hi, that sounds like me.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're best friends.
Oh, I love it.
And so I thought I was stupid for a little while. I was like, but then I love that image of like a fish trying to climb a tree. It's just, I was in the wrong environment. And so I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and that book really changed my life because it lit a fire so I was literally studying for the GMAT to go back to school, which I think happens a lot because people are like, I thought college was going to lead me to where I want to go. And it's not. You got to go and find that. And so a solution a lot of times has been graduate school or that, which by all means, if that's the way, but that was my solution. And then I found the 4-Hour Work Week in entrepreneurship. So I actually started a street legal golf cart rental company because
hold up. A street legal golf cart company.
Yes.
Let's dissect that.
Yes. So being that my motivations were in a different place at that time, I used to go to what is now Ocean Pacific, was Shock Fitness, and I saw people driving lifted golf carts. And I somehow
no less. Okay.
Yeah, bright yellow as well, with speakers and subs in it.
Of course, why not?
Yeah, so
only the best.
Exactly. So I'm not a 1 foot in the door kind of guy. So I knew that would be something that would make me unique, and in some ways, I didn't feel like I was enough myself. So I had to have stuff and things to make me unique, and you'll see that come later in my story as well. So I had this lifted golf cart, yellow, speakers, and so we drive it to Shock Fitness, which is right down the middle of Pacific Beach, and so there's a lot of tourists around. So they asked, hey, where can I rent this? Light bulb moment. Okay, nobody's renting these. So I actually sold my Volkswagen Jetta that I actually got from my dad.
Hi, I had a red one.
That one was silver, a little less in your face.
Mine was flashier. I don't know why, but it was
probably
more ticket prone.
My dad was the one to buy that one, not me. And so then I actually rode a ruckus around as we were deciding what to do, or as we were building rec rentals, and from there financed a Tacoma, bought our first couple golf carts. We were literally renting them in our front yard in Pacific Beach. So
wait, how old were you at this time?
This was 2012. So I was 23.
Okay. And were you walking with the Lord at this time?
I was not. So great question. So for me, I have my mom is an angel. My dad and mom, they raised me in the church.
As in Catholicism?
We went to University Presbyterian Church, so right next to University of Washington. But the second basketball was able to be the excuse not to go, I used that. But I used to, always go to Bible study and that. So I did have a foundation, so I knew where to go back to. But from, I would say, high school until, was that 27, 28, which we'll get to that part of it, I was not walking with the Lord. And I would say even growing up, there's a difference between religion and relationship. And I didn't have relationship. I had some book knowledge, but I didn't ever pursue a relationship. So what's helped me is to surround myself with people who have helped to facilitate relationships. I'm not depending on people or that, but actually that direct connection. So I was very much not walking with the Lord.
The golf cart company gives it all away right there.
Exactly.
Forget about the booze and the other stuff. It's the elevated, the lifted golf cart.
That's what gave it away.
Yes.
Exactly. That was it. Or the subs or, whatever music above. Was definitely not worship music.
So can you just see worship music in it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So you find your place doing well. You find yourself doing well. You've got this illegal street golf cart. I don't even know if I'm messing that whole thing up. Company.
They were legal.
Okay, legal golf cart company. You're making money. You're in the thick of things in PB, living your best life. When did you decide? Was it Downtown Dan times? Or was it between PB and Downtown Daniel? Or was it both where you're like, there's a better way?
Great question.
And I know that this isn't all that God has for me. I know that there's more for me. I know that I'm destined to do more. I know that he created me to be more. So I'm going to find out what that is. But if you're anything like I was, and I think a majority of us as believers, I would tiptoe into it and think I got it handled and then backslide. Tiptoe into it. Oh, I got this, and then backslide, right? So that was kind of my gig for a little bit up in LA and even down in San Diego in my early days. So at what point between PB and downtown did your persona decide, hold up, and what was it that was the catalyst then? Because you've gone through so many changes and so many transitions in your life thus far, and you're in your 20s. And you're like, dude, this is great. I'm making money. Got all the hot chicks. I'm drinking, boozing. I've got drugs. I got the beach. I got a yellow elevated golf cart, whatever. I'm doing it. Like, people respect me. Like, I'm the guy.
Right.
What happened? Where did you go face to face with the Lord and go, back up, this is not what I have planned for you? And how did you resist it, or how did you conform?
Great questions. So I had felt pulled back because I knew where to go. So I actually went to the church that you go to, the Rock, a few different times. So from golf carts, what happened is I got involved with, I had an opportunity. I actually said no at first. There's a company called SnapRaise that is crowdfunding for athletic teams. And so they started in 2014, and I was like selling my friends on it or just talking about it because I was excited. I knew they were disrupting an industry and a space like that would previously do bake sales and car washes to bring technology to fundraising. And so one of my actually co-founder of Rec Rentals, I was talking to somebody about it, and I was like, yeah, I would do it if I didn't have Rec Rentals. And then my friend Tyler was like, well, why don't you do both? So I was the first founding member of SnapRaise. So then I had Rec Rentals and that. So I was doing two different things, helping athletic teams raise money. And that's where I would say the financial success really started to happen, because Rec Rentals, it's a golf cart rental company. It's a cash flow business. It's not like other places where you're able to have a significant earning potential. So then that just fed into that, it really helped, I would say, build my confidence, because I found where I was really good at, which was sales, connecting with people. So I was the guy, I was the number one rep
in that moment, right? In that space.
Yeah. So for 7 years, I was the highest raise. I've raised $27 million for programs in San Diego County. I was the number one rep for 7 years. They had posters of me at clinics that would say "History rewards the bold."
Wow.
So stuff like that, but with a really inflamed face because of all the drinking. Now when I see that picture, I'm like, oh man. And so then what I did is I was in Pacific Beach, and so I was like, okay, I need to take my life more seriously. I'm going to move downtown. So,
that's a great, serious adulting decision right there.
Exactly. So
I was right there with you. For 32 years, I did that.
Yeah. So what I did is I moved downtown. I had a loft condo, and one of my stipulations.
Hold up. Where exactly downtown? Because there's different degrees of downtown.
So I was in East Village.
You were in the heart of it. Okay.
Yeah. So right by, because Fit is a gym. So when I was thinking about going there, that was the only Fit in the San Diego area. So it's kind of like Equinox of right. San Diego, local version of that. So I moved downtown. One of the stipulations is I wanted to be able to fit a glass ping pong table in the condo. So I actually had looked up, it was the background of my phone for a number of years, the Travis Matthew glass ping pong table.
Oh my gosh.
So it's similar thing where I needed to have something to be enough. And that was the glass ping pong table. So my motivation for a number of years was always women. Cause that's where I, tried to fill a void that was really a God-sized hole, so an eternal hole with a temporal solution. Right. And that's why it was always unfruitful and unsuccessful. No woman can ever fill that hole that really God is supposed to be.
Or
there.
No man.
Exactly. No person
in that
can.
Case, right? It's just like, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So then I lived downtown and started to get more into books. My friend Tyler also gave me the book, The Go-Giver, which I now have given out to the most number.
Tell me about this. I'm very intrigued about this.
Oh, it is my favorite book. So
The Go-Giver, and who's the author?
The author is Bob Berg.
And I can get that on Amazon.
Yes. It's a fantastic book. I just gave 2 away, or else I'd give you one.
Where's my gift?
I gave 2.
Dude, what? You don't show up without gifts, especially to the birthday girl. It's my birthday month.
Exactly.
The Go-Giver would have been.
When is your birthday? Mine's
May
next
25th.
Saturday. Okay, perfect.
Come on.
25th, 11th, we're good.
Good. 14's the difference. It's all good.
Hey, there we go.
Okay. So The Go-Giver.
Yes. So The Go-Giver, it's a fantastic book. It's what's called a parable style. So which means it tells a story, and the main concept, it has what's called 5 stratospheric laws of success. And it goes through where it tells a story, but then teaches you one of the laws. One of the main concepts is that a lot of us think about being a go-getter, which is go and get things. Let me go get this. Being a go-giver is actually flipping the switch to say, not what can I get out of this, but what can I give? How much value can I provide? And then it actually causes a trust and a faith in God to say, hey, I trust that whatever will follow because I'm focusing on value, not what can I get out of a situation or circumstance. And so there's a number of...
So you're serving. You're truly, which is how I conduct my business, how I conduct my life. It's how do we steward, right? How do we steward the sheep that we've been given, right?
Exactly.
To help in this life.
Yeah, like you could think in any industry that has sales or commission, you can be thinking about what is my commission on this versus who can I help? How can I help them?
Yeah.
Who can I serve?
Yeah.
What is the value that I can provide? So read that book. That one really made a huge impact on me. And then one of my coworkers at the time sent me the Andy Frisella podcast. And that was the first time.
That's a great podcast. Yeah.
And so from there, that's what actually started my love of podcasts, because being the go-getter, achiever, high performing, but driving around all the time as well.
And I could listen.
So the golf carts.
Did you graduate from that?
I did. So actually, once I started to have more financial success with Snap Raise, I sold that business to my other co-founder, Tyler, who is currently still on. It does.
So if I went down to PB, where can I find this?
So they're delivery. But you go to rec-rents.com, they'll deliver it to your house. We have what are called gem cars. So a little different than the yellow lifted ones, because we wanted to have ones that were manufactured to be street legal. So
do they have Mercedes type ones?
It could be argued that is the Mercedes of it. Okay. But the lifted ones, they do have essentially impersonation cars where they are the standard golf cart, but they put a Mercedes emblem and
that's what I would be driving around in.
Yeah.
So this book has changed your life. So it's based on parables. So what would you give me the Cliff Notes summary of this book, other than it's all about serving versus getting? So how did that impact your life at that moment? Because we've graduated from, the golf carts. Now you're downtown. You've got this glass ping pong situation going on because you made it at that point.
Yep.
You're dating multiple women, trying to fill this hole that only God can fill.
Yeah.
You are reading books. You're coming back to the Lord.
Yeah. So podcasts are a big part of the story there. So with the book, the Cliff Notes really are starting with what you can do to provide value. There are a couple laws in there, one that is really powerful is the law of reciprocity, which means that to be able to give, you also have to receive. So one of the things that I say, and some of my friends know me for it, is I say I receive that. So if somebody gives me a compliment, we feel the need to compliment them back, which doesn't actually allow anyone to do the full receiving. So if somebody says something like that, I'll say, I receive that. So that's another, I think, powerful dynamic of the book. And then what that led to is that I was looking at, hey, what value can I provide? So not only within what I was doing for work, but other areas. So I think we're created with a divine fingerprint and a purpose, and we all desire to have that in some ways, and we fill that void with different things. And so what I did is I feel like I started down that path. So podcasts, though, from Andy Frisella to Ed Milet, and Ed Milet's a believer. He's
Powerful
fantastic.
one, yes.
And then from there, it was actually the same person who shared the podcast with me, tagged me in a Steve Weatherford Instagram post. And from the day he launched his podcast, I started listening to it, and he was very much fitness and business. And then he had one person on, his name's Rex Crane. And so he is an amazing speaker, now speaks on different stages, but I sent that to a friend who was reconnecting with her faith. And at this time I'd gone to the Rock a couple different times. And so I was feeling pulled back. And so I sent it to her. She ends up going, they talk about C3 Church, which is now Awaken.
Right.
She goes there. What happens from there is she's like, she texts me afterwards because I couldn't go. I think I was out of town or something. You're not going to believe who's coming next week. Rex Crane, the guy who was the guest on the podcast.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, God, I see what you're doing here. So I end up going to Awaken, then C3, getting totally rocked. One of the things that connected me with it is that the pastor was a business owner. So I was like, wait, you can do both faith and business. And so I really connected there. I started we have a morning men's prayer group,
I love that.
which really helped to build what we talked about earlier of community. And so through that, I tried to do a relationship, being an achiever, like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to 2 services on a Sunday. We got men's prayer. I'm going to read my Bible in a year app, even though I don't even know how to read this thing, even though I grew up in the church. But I'm going to do it. And so I really tried to do a relationship. And then it wasn't until our men's conference, which was actually just last weekend when we were recording this, emerge, where I was in that like really in-depth environment. It's the largest team-based event. So think like football 2-a-days meets summer camp competition, meets worship concert, meets camp out, meets like epic speakers. So it's like this really amazing convergence, but it was also team-based. And so from there at Emerge, that was when I was really like put into the environment where I think I could receive. Like I connect with God a lot through worship music.
Yes.
And so a lot of us I read a book called Sacred Pathways that talks about the different ways that you can connect with God. And for me, that's one of them. And so then I actually got baptized at Emerge. And that was the
just
first,
recently?
Not this one.
Okay.
No, this was in 2019. Yeah. And that was the first time where I really felt like the presence of God and the Holy Spirit. And I was like, what are these like electric feeling on my arms?
I just got it right now. Yeah.
And so and I even remember being down in South County because helping athletic teams raise money. I was down at Otay Ranch working with their track team, and it was still emanating, like still feel that presence. And so that was really the time where I was like, okay, wow, I'm actually in a relationship with God. And on the goosebumps thing, some people call them goosebumps. I call them, one of my mentors calls them truth ripples. I call them God bumps. Yeah. Because a lot of times what happens is if there's something that connects with you on a deeper spiritual level, God will almost give you confirmation there. So just be aware of that one.
It's for sure though. And you have to listen, anytime we set out to do something and it doesn't feel like it's meant to be something we should be doing, I get into that mindset of doing my relationship. Whatever it is I'm doing, I'm going to do this. And what I find is I start to strive versus abiding, right?
That's really good.
And there's a huge difference in your life when you feel like you're constantly just, swimming upward and you're just working and working and grinding and doing, when God really all he wants us to do is say, hey, chill out for a second.
Right.
I got this. You're going before me. Stop striving and start abiding.
Yeah.
Right. So hearing you say that you were doing God, you were doing that resonates because we've all done God. Right. And once we realize that it truly is a relationship, he wants our heart. It's not really about, going to church 10 times a week. I mean, yes, that's great. It's not about, all of this other extra things that you're doing to serve the community. That's great. And you need to do that. but he wants our heart.
Right.
At the end of the day, strip away all the millions of dollars that a person could possibly have, the empty number of businesses they have, the cars, the elevated rides, or how we're going to do it, golf carts we have that are yellow.
Don't forget the subwoofers.
And the subwoofers. He wants our heart, because at the end of the day, those are just resources. Those are just toys, right? He is the one true source.
Right.
And he gives us the ability to have and to do and to hear and to think and to breathe and to feel, because without him, we are nothing.
Right.
So when you say you're doing life and you're doing God, you became baptized, which, praise God, right? 2019?
2019.
So 6 years ago? 6? No.
5.
Can't even do the math right now. 5
5
years ago. So I know, because I recently became baptized, my life has changed and I'm raised to new life. So what did you go through post-baptism between then and now? Because that's a lot of time, 5 years. And did you find yourself swaying, right? Backsliding a little bit, or were you pretty much firm in your foundation?
Great question. And part of the actually when I came to my faith is the reason I was listening, or one of the reasons that created a lot of space for me to be listening to podcasts, is when I was living downtown, I was listening to a podcast and I heard somebody say that life goes by too quickly when you get into routine. And I had actually started to meditate. So I was starting to think about my thoughts. And I realized with the combination of those two things that I was trying to impress people with things. So living for external validation with the loft condo and that. And so I was actually...
Oh, a loft condo at that.
Yeah,
Dude,
with the
you were
glass
living
ping pong.
high.
Yeah, and even like I talk about it, at the time it was not multiple girlfriends. Like you mentioned, it was one girlfriend, but I used to...
Thanks for the correction.
But the sad part is I would introduce before even like anything about her is I would say she was a UW cheerleader. So it was more about, the status of it versus who she actually was, which she's a great girl. And I just wasn't ever in a place to be able to truly connect with somebody if I didn't have that relationship.
Or to receive them.
Exactly. If I hadn't received that love
right.
of God, and to be able to then give that out or receive it there.
Yeah.
So I was actually doing van life at the time. So that's why I had so much time to listen to podcasts, is because I moved out of the condo. I rented it out. I was doing 7 months of van
Daniel,
life.
the question is, what kind of van was it? Was it a Sprinter?
It was not a Sprinter, because I wanted to get things done. And it was arguably, I won't use the words, but white van.
Perfect.
So it did have the shaka. So one side didn't look like it was going to pick up small children.
Okay.
The other side, maybe, so.
Were the windows tinted as well?
Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay. I've seen.
So
were you ever parked at a Chevron, like off of Manchester?
I don't think so.
Dude, because there's one always parked there. And I'm like, what is this guy doing up here? I've gone so far as to almost knock on the window, but didn't.
No, so
Yeah.
I had my dog at the time, so I had AC set up in there, because that was one of the motivations. I wanted to spend more time with him. And so I had a converted E350. So I would park by dog parks. So if you had said by Del Mar Dog Beach, then I probably would have said yes.
Yes. Okay.
So there was there, or I had a place in Pacific Beach where I would park. So
so hold on, back up. So you have financially you're stable.
Yes.
And you chose to do
Making
van
multiple
life.
6 figures.
And you're in a van life situation.
Yes.
Because you wanted to spend more time with your dog.
And not impress people with things.
Got it.
That was the best way for me to do it, because I know myself, and I'm also not a 1 foot in the door kind of guy, so I can be a little extreme.
So less was more for you at that point. So
Exactly.
you really
So I
scaled down.
Pulled out all the noise,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're
Distractions,
able
the static.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people. I did 3 things. I went to dog parks, I played beach volleyball, and I worked. And I was still working at the time, just treating San Diego like I was visiting here. And so
I love that mentality, though, because it does shift your perspective when you look at it that way.
Exactly. Right. And I think, when you don't have anything really to do, or anywhere to really that's that comfortable to sit down rather than in bed, I spent more time like walking around and listening to podcasts and thinking. So I was actually in my own thoughts a lot more. And listening to worship music. So it really was a transformational time for me. So I came back from a merge. Just shortly after that, I rented a studio condo so this is 2019 in Mission Beach, because I knew that was where I wanted to be.
Right.
And so that was when I really started to lean into my faith and really grow. So I had that year, and then really a transformational time for me. And I had my ups and downs. I had pushbacks with certain things in the Bible, certain, dynamics of how God has called us to live life. And so one of the great things is I didn't have a huge step back. I think I had challenges, but because of the community that I was in with men's prayer and that, I really had a strong community. And then I think my story would probably be different if I hadn't started what's called Pathfinders. And that's
you started that?
I was in it. Sorry, I did not start it.
Okay.
So Pathfinders is our business ministry at Awaken. And so it's a 6-month apprenticeship program. Think of a lot of people talk about masterminds. So beginning of 2020, I started that. And that is you sign a contract. So I'm going to make sure I'm actually living all of the ways, because I did slip back at certain times with women to old ways. And that was a big thing that I pushed back on, was the purity of relationship there. And so 2020, fast forward to 2020, I started, this is beginning before actual 2020,
before the fun little
before COVID
interruption that took place. Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I started Pathfinders. And so that is partnering my business with God. And I'd had an idea earlier, and it was actually when I spoke out the idea the first time at a Pathfinders Connect. And the idea came from a convergence of 3 different things. One is my dad had always taught us that we don't have control over everything that happens, but we do have control over how we respond to it. So instead of having a great day, we can make it a great day.
Right.
The second, one dynamic of that is I wanted to honor my dad and let his legacy live on. And perspective is powerful, right? We can say everything happens for a reason, or we can say what I actually don't agree with that. I believe that God can work through all things. Always. So I wanted to have his legacy actually live on through me in a powerful way, and really rewrite and have a redemption story there. So then another podcast, of course, God works to me through podcasts.
Well, listen, however he works to you, right? I mean, it's the same though. It's either visual or auditory. And whatever is going to be more impactful. I mean, he can use a homeless person said something to me the other day when I was getting gas. And it goes back to how the currency of our country is going to change. Pretty soon there isn't going to be money, right? Paper money. Right. It's all going digital, right? And as I'm getting my gas, this homeless person goes, you can't use your credit card pretty soon, right? It's all going to be digital. You can't. None of your money's going to be valuable. And I go, whoa, what are you saying to me? And it's true.
Right.
Think about it. God will use the most random to drop nuggets in your ear. Whether you're receptive or not is another story. But there's some truth to what that homeless person said. Think about it.
Exactly.
Everything's going to be, it's Bitcoin, crypto, all this stuff. The money we have in the bank isn't going to last. And I'm going on a tangent, but I just thought I'd share that. So go ahead.
No, it's really good. Yeah. I think it's important to remember that it doesn't need to always be somebody who's up on a stage who's giving you profound wisdom, that God can work through anyone. And so then I listened to a podcast with Steve Weatherford and this guy, Nick Stanton Estasso, is hand-heart syndrome. No legs, one arm with one finger. And he's the most happy-go-lucky person you'll ever hear. And he said something. He said, the world would be a better place if everyone lived life through a lens of gratitude. And at that time, a competitor, somebody who had left our company, actually was using Blender sunglasses to sell some of the potential clients on working with them, giving them to athletes and different things. And so I was looking for a sunglasses partner. I'd reached out to Movement Watches, and when that didn't go anywhere, and so I know that God created me to be a creator more intuitively now. It was more subconscious then. And so I was like, all right, well, if somebody else isn't going to do it, I will. And so at that moment, I said I could create a company that reminds people that they have a choice to live life through a lens of gratitude. Because Nick had said the world would be a better place if everyone lived life through a lens of gratitude. And I believe that we all have a purpose and a plan for our life, and that God has created us for more. I think a lot of us feel that way. That's why you've got certain aspects of mental health and anxiety and depression, because you're living out of alignment with what you believe God has created you to be.
Oh, yeah.
And so
we're in our own prison sometime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that we've created.
Yeah, for sure. Self-imposed.
Right. And so then I started through that, I'd had the idea, but I hadn't spoken it out. And what's so important is that when you speak, and who you surround yourself with is really important, because I was an idea. I'd never spoken it out till I was at a Pathfinders Connect group, which is like a small group. Then they champion the idea. I go into Pathfinders. I actually create the company, start that.
What was the name of it?
Gratitude.
Oh, okay.
That there's gratitude wherever you're at. And so the A is an @ symbol. So our first thing that we created was our gratitude lenses. Wow. So on the inside of it, it says live life through a lens of gratitude, and then make it a great day.
Wow. Okay.
So we have 4 different models there. And, we've continued to grow that. We're actually updating the name to be Grateful Every Day. So it's something that people can connect with without having to explain it.
Right.
So that was when I created that. And what that did is and from there, I also created a podcast, and I actually hired our mutual friend and person that we're both a huge fan of, Corbin Bravo.
Mind you, he is very good at receiving as well.
Yeah.
And every time I compliment him on his work and appreciate and show levels of gratitude and expression, to him, he receives it. So I made the connection when you said that, where you're in a good influence in his life is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know if it's the breathwork aspect of it. I don't know if it's because he is in alignment, because he probably is. It sounds like he is, but he receives all of that too on a daily. And I've learned from him, that's a reminder to me that you have to receive it.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And that's what the great thing, I mean, Corbin's young, and why environment is so important is he was the one behind the camera of a number of podcasts, and we're both very curious people.
Yeah.
So if you're editing, if you're listening to, if you're ingesting that information and you're in that environment, you're going to be impacted by that. And that's, I'll take credit for helping him to be in that environment, but it was Corbin who said yes. And I think any of us who are in these environments, and we have the choice to be able to do that. He left what was a negative industry in media and news to say, hey, like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And so he was the one who applied to be able to say, hey, this is where I want to be. And it's cool. He always honors me and talking about how his family's so happy that he's a part of it, because they've seen that. And to be honest, I mean, we both know that Corbin's all world. So this is just the beginning.
Well, as long as he gets my good sides, that's all I care about, right? Honestly. But he truly has, one of the things I love about his work, and someone in that role, in that space, and this goes back to seeing life through those lenses, is he sees us, he sees me, he sees who I am as a person, he sees you through his lenses. And through those lenses, he is able to capture and translate through his editing and all of it what we're truly all about.
Right.
We couldn't do that. We show up, and his lenses are what's really capturing this whole opportunity that's going on right here. And he'll edit it and clip out things, and I just go, whoa, I forgot about that. Whoa, that's a pretty heavy hook right there. That's great. So yeah, I ever since I've started working with him, and we act like he's not even here, but he is. He's blushing. I have found a new sense about who I am as a person, who I am as a brand, because let's face it, in real estate, in this world, you're a brand.
Exactly.
You're a walking billboard. And if you're a believer and you're a walking billboard, I walk into every room. Everybody knows about God when I walk in, because I'm trying to save the whole world, right?
Yeah.
I had to correct myself today and say, Tammy, you're not God. Let him do that. But Corbin is amazing.
100%. And I think it also goes back to that, like, we all have our own giftings. And that's what's so great about a team is I love a book that's called Who, Not How. So I could spend 24 hours in a day trying to edit something or go through and see, like, he's really, like, he pulls the gold out. He sees those things and so present in any conversation. But I think that goes back to, like, what any of us are. Is like, don't compare yourself. Like, I'm not Tammy. I'm different than you. We have some of the same giftings in different areas, but each of us are different. So if we're comparing ourselves, it's like, no, all of us have our own fingerprint. That is a reason. So yes, you can look at other people to get inspiration, to say, hey, look at them fulfilling and living out and unveiling, who they truly are, but not like, hey, I want to be that.
Right.
And
it's our DNA.
It's amazing how God will bring people in to help you with that. I have a friend, Brent, who's taller, better looking, and more athletic than me. So any types of, like, hey, I'm athletic, or that was thrown
out the window because of his presence.
Exactly. Okay. I got like 2 sports that I can still beat him at. It's because I play him a lot more.
Darn it when those friends show up.
Exactly. One of my favorite quotes is "Rising tides lift all ships." So when we're around those people that will really raise what we think is even possible. Yeah. And then another one is synergy is the business of the future. That there's not a limit of abundance out there. There's not a limit of resources. Right. That if we work together, we can actually create more.
You said a couple of things that were very poignant to me, and they resonate with me. But the gist of what I'm hearing you say is, part of us being servants, right? And part of us serving, we're here to really edify one another, right? We're here to, and it doesn't matter because it's so easy in business and it's so easy in real estate because it's such a transactional business to forget that there are two human beings on each side of this transaction. There's a buyer and a seller, and they both have a story to tell. They both have a journey as to why they're buying, as to why they're selling. And real estate agents as a whole, they tend to forget about that human element, and they treat it as, well, the buyer and the seller, right? But no, let's figure out what's going on here. Let's learn to get to know them a little bit more, which is why I do real estate, because I'm intrigued behind the story, behind the why. Why are you selling? How can I help you? How can I get you to where you need to be versus, oh, you're a buyer and oh, you're a seller. But the moral of this story is we are here to edify one another. And we don't know what the buyer's going through or the seller's going through or the business owner's going through or your neighbor. And that is where God has gifted us with grace. We have to extend that grace. And if we don't, because at the end of the day, you need to love one another. You were here to love. You were here to serve. You're here to love. I don't care what's going on in your day. I don't care how you had a bad night. I don't care. You're here to love, right? So we have to edify that person and put ourselves in their shoes and say, hey, how can I help you? It doesn't matter what I'm going through because it's really all about you. So when you have friends that elevate you, regardless of them being better looking or not, right? Or playing a better sport or not, because we all have them. He edifies you, right?
Exactly.
He makes you feel like you're not fragmented. You're a whole person, and you do what you do, and you have friends to kind of, God will bring you these people to remind you of how gracious he is and how his mercy is never ending, right? And he'll present those opportunities to us to remind us or to test us. Like, how are you going to handle this situation, right? When this guy's better looking than you and taller.
Right.
How are you going to handle it, Daniel?
Yeah, and that I think that's so important is to be able to say, okay, this person was brought in, comparison could come up.
Right.
And what is comparison? We try and belittle, we try and talk down, but instead always, take every thought captive. And I love what you talk about of edify. And even with buyer seller, like, what if you were to say like Corbin the buyer or Daniel the buyer? Right. Because when you do say buyer seller, it makes it very transactional.
It's
but
very
if you put
impersonal.
a name in front of it, it creates a personal relationship there. And one of the things that I love, and I learned the first one, honor, through Pathfinders, the business ministry at Awaken, and that talks about honor is something that's really powerful. And honoring is really speaking to where somebody is. So when you honor somebody, that which you honor will flow towards you. Right. And then the other dynamic, which is what I see is the next level, but also a part of it in some ways, is championing. So honor is saying, Tammy, I see this for you. You're a powerhouse in podcasts. You're changing the world with the way that you are really providing value in real estate and through the airwaves through what people are listening to. And championing is saying like, hey, I continue to see you. You're going to be on stages giving your testimony of how God has moved in your life and turning your trauma into triumph. Because then that's saying, that's actually speaking what is not into what is, and really lifting them up.
Existence.
Exactly.
So you went and did the van life. You have evolved. You're closer to God. You are doing all the things. You're not doing anymore. You're truly having a relationship with him. Fast forward to where you are today, and I'm sure that was probably, a few years ago, roughly? So post-COVID, and you're here now. You're still thriving. You're still an entrepreneur. You recently acquired or purchased the Mad Beat.
Yes.
Tell me about that, because I'm all about it.
Thank you. So
I'm going to go show up in the golf cart.
I know. That's exactly. Hey, just make sure to pick me up on the way.
With my 2 chihuahuas.
Just pick. Hey, your 2 chihuahuas will get peanut butter because we know who the real VIPs are.
Oh my God. It has to be organic, Daniel. It has to be organic.
Only the best.
Yes.
So, started Gratitude, was in Pathfinders. Through that, I actually met one of my closest friends, Casey, and I had been investing in real estate actually since my dad passed. One of the things is I got a little bit of money from that, and I wanted to honor my dad through it. So he was thinking about investing with these real estate deals with my uncle. I had seen the fruit of what my uncle had, which I think is really important. Like, check the fruit, which is saying, hey, who is living the life? If you want financial freedom, look at what people who have financial freedom did. And so what I did is I started investing in real estate in 2018. in 10. And I was aware of real estate investing in funds, but I'd always been passive. You invest 50,000, you invest 2,500, whatever it is, and then it is a passive income investment. But what I started to do was active investing, and so we started a company called JP Capital, where we were flipping houses. What I found is that was not my favorite, because we were changing walls and doing different things to make the houses beautiful, but we weren't adding square footage. So we didn't have control in some ways over the value that was added. We only had a certain amount. The rest was all done through, or a dynamic that plays into that is the market. And I didn't like how we didn't have enough margin with the market to be able to really continue forward with what I wanted there. And so I started JP Capital. We were Casey and I and Brent, the good looking bloke, highly athletic.
Darn it.
Fantastic person. No, he's an amazing person, is really doing a lot within construction and changing a lot of people's lives there. And so we started that, found that to be the house flipping wasn't what we wanted to do. So we're actually just closing up one of our last deals there. And so from there, I was aware of real estate investing. I was aware of investing in funds. And I had a friend who owns the rights to Dave's Hot Chicken. He owns a bunch of Little Caesars.
Which?
Dave's Hot Chicken.
Hot Chicken, yes. Okay.
Little Caesars and Jersey Mike's. And so I was aware of investing in like a franchise, type brick and mortar business. And my favorite acai bowls were from the Mad Beat. I love peanut butter as well. The
my
Beyond
jam
Said.
right there. Yeah.
And so I had always gone there, but at age 30, I had actually written my perfect day down. So it's what's called the perfect day formula, where you write down from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. And so I had written that down.
So let me ask you this. So what is the perfect day? How do you start it?
Oh, great question.
What's the one thing? Because I know for me, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I pray.
Yeah. So I started out waking up. I go into my wellness wing and pray.
Oh,
and
wait, the wing?
Yeah, it's a wing. It's a wellness wing.
Okay, so is that where the glass ping pong table is?
No, it's more of a way I visualize it, more of like a yoga type room,
Got
stretch room, which I actually have turned the second bedroom into that now, which I do breath work in there. But with that, so then I go pray, meditate, and spend that first day there. Then I wake up next to, before that, I wake up next to my wife. Once I'm done with my morning routine, because I've always been passionate about morning routines, I make a green juice, bring that in, because I want to serve my wife, and so I bring that in with her. I go and play beach volleyball after we get some time together I actually drive my golf cart down to South Mission to play volleyball. I kept going back and forth if I go to my volleyball court in my yard or down to South Mission, because I love people. Then I come back, have breakfast, and then I go down to the office, call a couple people. Tyler, who I started the Rec Rentals golf cart business with, and he's the one who gave me the 4-hour work week, and the Go Giver. We have an office next to each other where we both own multiple businesses. So I go down there, take a couple of calls with people that I'm mentoring. Then I have a couple meetings. Then I go to lunch at my acai bowl place. And I didn't realize, and get a juice. I didn't realize that I'd wanted that until I wrote it down in stream of conscious. And so then from there, I have a couple more meetings. We end up going on a sunset cruise with all my friends for my birthday. And that just reminds me, that's maybe what we'll do for my birthday. My birthday's in a week and a half. So, and then I come back, hang out we have like a L-shaped house or right there. And so the middle is like, I've always liked like lush, like Tulum style. Yeah. And so then spend some time with my wife and go to sleep. So that was my perfect day. And so through that, I was like, wow, I didn't know I wanted a acai bowl place, a juice shop. So then my friend I met once I'd written that down, I met the owner of Mad Beat 2 months later playing volleyball. And I'm a connector. People will reach out to me if they need something, whether it's a drywall guy or, they're selling their business and want to have a conversation about mitigating taxes. So then we end up having a conversation where he says, hey, I'm looking to sell the Mad Beat. I've got a buyer. Do you have anyone who can help me with selling this? So I connect him with the guy who owns the Little Caesars. It ends up being that it's the wrong of what he was looking for. Then I connect him with another financial advisor friend to talk through some of the dynamics of selling a business, whether you sell it outright, or do a seller financing.
Right.
And so from there, I tell him, I'm like, hey, I'd like to make an offer. He goes, okay, or I'd love to buy a business if your buyer backs out. And he just goes, he's very no nonsense.
Yeah, we like those people.
Yeah. So anyone who knows the previous owner of Mad Beat will laugh. Great hard outer shell in some ways. Yeah. So he
has yet to receive. That's the issue.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. So then he goes, make an offer. So I did. One thing led to another. I ended up being able to buy the Mad Beat, which has been such an amazing gift. It is financially a little bit different than, say, a real estate investment.
Right.
A lot more time and work there. But the connection to the local community is like nothing I've ever experienced. And I believe that God has called me to the beaches to turn Pacific Beach from known as drinking and partying into wealth, health, wellness, and fitness, which I do truly think is happening. And so I've had the opportunity to steward that over the last year. And interesting timing. Today is our 1 year.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Wow.
Congratulations.
I appreciate the questions. Definitely a lot of epiphanies just through this. So a year ago today is when I took that over, and it was really amazing. One of the things I learned through that is he was there training me for the first month, and the second that I took over, it was like everything shifted where I didn't need him in the same way, and I didn't probably need him for that month. You do need to train, but it's interesting what happens from an energetic level once it's all on you.
Yes.
To a certain extent. I know that it's not always
because there is no plan B. It's you. Well, God,
exactly.
Obviously, but you have nothing to fall back
and I've
on.
had an amazing team.
Yeah.
I had a trip planned with my mom, and so Brian was what's called an owner-operator, so he was very much in the shop. So we had to turn it from an owner-operator to a owner in 2 weeks because I went on we have a yearly mother-son trip.
Wow.
And we'd already had that scheduled, and I said, hey, I'll cancel it. And I had 2 people on the team, or 3 people, Carissa, and then our manager, Christina, and another gentleman, Nick, who really stepped up and said, hey, we got you.
Right.
So that was amazing to see the team come together and still have that opportunity.
And today's your 1 year anniversary, which is really cool. So you've got all these businesses under your belt. You're walking with the Lord. You're married now. You've got this.
In my perfect day, I am.
So you're not married. Okay.
No.
Well,
that was the perfect day, though.
That was
the visualization was there. I appreciate
You're putting it out there. You're putting it out there. I'm putting it out there for you.
In Jesus' name.
Yeah. So now you've got this perfect life. You're living for Jesus. Like he died for us. Everything you do is all the glory goes to him. The 5 F's. We've covered your faith. We've covered the family part. We've covered finances. We've covered fitness then finances, now fun. It's hard for me to believe that there's something that you do that's fun because your whole life has been fun, right?
Exactly.
And you're in alignment. You're exactly where God wants you to be. You are receptive to his still small voice, though static can tend to creep in. And in my world with real estate, the distractions are the distractions. And I share this with my mentees all the time, and they're here listening. Don't be distracted. Keep your head down, do the work. God will provide. The NAR suit, all this stuff, keep your head down, don't get distracted. God will provide. And he has, and he continues to. So for fun, right? If you're going along this journey, and I'm checking off all the F's, what do you like to do for fun? Your birthday is coming up. You're celebrating the 1 year anniversary of Mad Beat, and I'm going to bring my chihuahuas and my tricked out golf cart.
There we go.
They're going to have on their designer duds, and they're going to eat organic peanut butter. What are you going to do for fun besides smile when we walk up to your Mad Beat store?
So what else?
And receive us.
100%. Well, I'll probably offer you some non-alcoholic tequila, aka the Ring of Fire juice shot.
Okay, then.
I like to get the people going with that.
That's just such an oxymoron if you really break it down. Non-alcoholic tequila.
Yeah.
Like, did you create that?
I was the one who said it. When I say the people are talking, and the people call it non-alcoholic tequila,
Yeah.
that's almost like talking in the third person because I am the person. But I've gotten other people to say it too. So I guess then it's plural there.
I love that.
So it's all about.
I see an invention on the horizon here.
Yeah.
I see some sort of business brewing, a non-alcohol, because you know it would sell.
Yeah.
Unless it's already out there. Well, it sounds like it is.
And the dynamic, so it's called the Ring of Fire. So it's a juice shot. But the dynamic is that it is fun to take shots with people. There's a communal aspect of it, right?
Right.
But what we've done is I've created that and that dynamic around taking a shot of juice shot. It's got lemon, ginger, honey, and cayenne. So it's got a little kick to it, which is why I call it the non-alcoholic tequila.
And it's so good for you. That whole combination is so good for your body.
Right. Very energizing.
Yes.
So you've got energy, immunity, digestion. So we love doing that at the Mad Beat. We even got a shot ski, which I need to find. So it's somewhere, but it's all right. If we need to buy another one, we'll be okay. So what else do I like to do for fun?
What do you do for fun? Now we've checked off all 5 F's.
Yeah.
What's the fun? What is it?
So one, I will say that fun can be done through all of them. It doesn't need to be a separation with your 9 to 5. And now I go out and live the life. Like I think that it's not a separation, it's an integration. So I do have fun in everything that I do. And except for maybe what I call growth conversations, I'm still working on those being fun.
Those are the best. No, those are the best because and I had this conversation with Maya today. She's one of my mentees. If you're not challenged, then you're not growing.
Right.
And God will challenge you.
Yeah.
Like he will challenge you in spite of you. He will do it. And either you receive it or you don't. And you look at it as an opportunity to grow. You look at it as an opportunity to say, okay, God, I don't like it. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good, but I trust you.
Right.
What are you doing?
100%. And so those conversations where you're, but if you don't have somebody to have those growth or those challenging conversations, then you probably don't have the right people around you. So I'm honored to be that person when I do have those. But beach volleyball, I love beach volleyball. It's a lot of the reason I focus on certain dynamics of my fitness. It's a really positive growth community. I was even having a conversation with a friend who's a basketball coach, and we talked about the different dynamics between a net sport and a sport like basketball or football or other sports, soccer, where you have physical contact. So it's harder to go underneath the net and say, hey, good hit, when you're physical contact, which brings out that warrior spirit in you. So I do
competition.
Exactly. So, and I love competition. Yep. So beach volleyball, I love that. I love to wake surf. We have a wake surf boat with a couple of my friends. So I love to be able to do that. Snowboarding is something I always grew up doing. And then breath work is one of my favorite things in the world.
That just spoke to my heart right there.
I've got the protocol. If I want to catch up with a friend, we do a beach walk, and then we go and do breath work. I turn my second bedroom from a bedroom into a stretch room, which really, let's be honest, I wish I stretched more. Yeah. I'm more in the visualization state of stretching more, but I do breath work a lot.
That to me though, Corbin introduced me to that, and that connection that resonated with me because like I shared with you previously, my naturopath she does craniosacral therapy on me, and that helps keep a person in a parasympathetic state. Because we know our cortisol levels can, sometimes when you wake up, I start at 7, right? My cortisol level is already high. But breath work takes it to a whole nother level because it's really, it's just you, like you and your breath, right? So that obviously is super important to you. So that's an intricate part of your day, if not your week, if not your life. So fun is more sports, trips probably, right? Traveling. The Mad Beat, fitness, your faith, all of it's fun. So there really isn't an occasion to have fun because every day should be your birthday and celebrate life.
Exactly.
Right? It's like another year around the sun. How about another year, like another day? We woke up today. God woke us up today, right? Because there's somebody that's on a ventilator right now and we're not, right? So when you look through those lenses of gratitude and gratefulness for every little thing, the good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is, that's a powerful space. And I feel like you've created this space for yourself, overcoming trauma and tragedy early in your life, right? And that shaped who you are today. And in doing so, you're honoring your Father and honoring God, and you're serving the community, and you're servicing those around you to elevate them, to edify them, to wealth and health and fitness and fun. whatever that looks like, to instill in them. If you are the only representation of Jesus Christ that a person sees, then your job is done for that moment. So how do you act? What do you say? How do you conduct yourself? What are the relationships you're forming? How are you serving? How are you giving? It sounds like you've mastered that craft and you're having fun while doing it. Congratulations on all of the success. The golf cart, you had me at golf cart. Okay, so we're going to name this, I don't know what, Corbin, but we're going to go with the golf cart. That's make it a great day. And if there's one thing that you could, if somebody were watching this or listening to this and they're aspiring to have a better life, to be wealthier, and not just because of wealth, but God created us to be abundant. If there's somebody out there watching this and they're struggling with who they are, not just in Christ, but who they are in this world, and they want to be healthier and wealthier and be rooted in really good soil, what's one thing you would suggest to them?
Well, I believe wealth is well-being, so very much so. Is take the step. Nothing will happen from a couch, nothing to go out and create the life that you want to live. And within that, taking the step, it starts with community. So find a community of people. You know, for us, it's for people, believers, who know that it all starts with a relationship with God. Because my story would be very different if I didn't find God. And I think everything starts and ends with that. So go out, say yes to listening to that podcast, say yes to starting that business, or taking the step to go to a church service, or ask your friend, hey, what's up with this thing where your whole life is rooted in what some people see as just a story, but really it's that God, our creator, is fighting to be in relationship with us and gave the highest sacrifice that can be given, which is his son. So take the step.
Right. And it is truly about our heart, right? And having Christ at the center of our lives and our businesses, as I shared before we started, is a non-negotiable for me. And that's why I'm single. It's a non-negotiable. I'm waiting for God to bring me Boaz. That's what I'm going to go with. So Boaz, if you're out there, thank you. Thank you for this time. I appreciate everything about you. You guys, this is probably one of my most favorite podcasts to date. A lot of nuggets here, a lot of gems here. If the one thing that I could encourage you to walk away with from this podcast today is take that step. Take that step. Lean into your faith. God wants your heart, and he works all things out for your good, always. So, San Diego, as always, we love you. We're here to serve you. Any questions, reach out, direct message. They can reach you where?
Instagram, Daniel D. Hack.
And at the Mad Beat in Pacific Beach.
And at the Mad Beat.
Yes.
Drinking some non-alcoholic tequila, a.k.a. the Ring of Fire.
The Ring of Fire. So check him out. As always, guys, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you tuning in. Have a beautiful and blessed day, San Diego. Peace out.